Yeah, so November, Mars, heavy duty Scorpio month. This is a triple espresso month. Oh, yeah, amazing. Well, I have to say, yes, I know my hair. I look like Buster Brown. Wears my dog tie and my shoe. He lives in the shoe. I don't know, whatever. Here's the thing. Mars rules blades. So I think with the intensity of Mars and Scorpio, I think my hair kind of got a little I don't know. I'm just rolling with it. That's all. Keep breathing and rolling. That's my best advice for this month. All right, everyone. Hello, hello. This is Irlianna StarSound Speaks with episode 280. So November astrology, yes, very intense. Let's walk through this month. And remember too, yes, Mars is in his domicile, the sun's in Scorpio, Mars is in Scorpio, a lot of intensity, a lot of passions, a lot of drive. Yes, we have seen violence, unfortunately. So I just want to, preempt everything and remind everyone, this is definitely a month where we have to keep our center, breathe, and stay centered with all this intense energy going on. All right, I'm going to tell you exactly all the details. So what you need to know. So yes, I know we just finished eclipse season, and we'll have in the middle of the month, we'll have our new moon, the first one that's not an eclipse. So that's always nice. But I wish I could say, yeah, it's like gentle waters. Well, it's not when Mars is in Scorpio. So we're kind of settling in. And you have to remember too, Mars is translating each point from the solar eclipses and the lunar eclipses that have happened since November of 2021. So if you're feeling like all these issues and things that came up in the last, really 2 years, this is now the time where it's time for action. It's time to, kick it to the curb. Like Mars is like, get it done, move forward, throw that trash out. Those relationships that were old and stagnant, or any part of your life that was stagnant and was experiencing all this heavy duty, stagnant energy, it's like time to bust free and move. So let's start with our triple strength espresso month. All right, so we start today, the 2nd of November, and tomorrow, the 3rd, the sun is in an opposition to Jupiter in Taurus. So, that's a good time for like asking. I mean, Jupiter's always about the big ask, right? The big Jupiter, generous, benevolent Jupiter. Yes, Jupiter's retrograde right now. So the benevolence and the wealth and are really more of insights into these things, because it's more on the internal planes. It's not till December 30th that Jupiter will get out of his move out of retrograde. But anyway, it is still a good time that the sun in Scorpio opposing Jupiter in Taurus. It's a good time for asking big. Saturn is also at the same time, we're going to have on the 4th, a day later, we're going to have a Saturn. The big news of the month, Saturn is, after several months retrograde, is stationing direct at 0 degrees of Pisces. So this is where we see so much unraveling with certainly in Congress, the Speaker of the House, one of many examples of this unraveling of government and society and infrastructure. Is this dissolution. It's like where we find a lot of deception and fraud and uncertainty and confusion. And so now it is, the last several months have been an opportunity for us to really look and see what is my reality structure like, and is it really fit for me for the next 30 years. Saturn won't be back in this sign for 30 years. So we plan for the long range when we look at Saturn transits, and we have to be wise and patient. And we're looking at where, hopefully we've used these last few months to really see the structure of our reality, and, how fit is it? And does it really fit with our dreams and our hopes and wishes and dreams, Pisces? So, I would say too, what kind of boundaries do we need to, with the sun in opposition with Jupiter? Like Jupiter can go crazy, so it's being astute and maybe looking at boundaries. On the 4th, Mercury rises as an evening star. He's finally out of the beams of the sun. So he's at 20 Scorpio on the 4th, and we haven't seen Mercury visibly since October 8th. That's when he disappeared under the beams. It's too bright. You know, when you're under the beams of the sun, you can't see yourself, right? It's like you can't see him in the sky. Well, now he's back out. And so what that might mean, Mercury being connected with communication and information and data, that maybe there's some data and new data that comes to light. And I would think too with Scorpio, it could be, you know, things of a criminal nature, a criminality and secrets and money and other people's money and documents and documentation and things. So things might come to the surface that maybe we're feeling befuddled or confused or not available, now become available. Some kind of uncovering of important information. On the 3rd and the 4th, so we've got Venus then moves into an opposition with Neptune. So Venus is in Virgo, not an easy sign for Virgo, or for Venus. But so there could be some confusion, especially like in relationships, there might be some confusion or some deception going on. So that opposition is like this uncertainty that we have to integrate and be honest with ourselves and be discerning, right? Venus in Virgo is always going to demand discernment in relationships, and it's up against this deception that is has to be integrated and really examined carefully. But good news is on the 6th and 7th, Venus will then will move into a trine, a very positive aspect with Pluto in Capricorn. So now the focus, now we can get to the bottom of things, where there had been that uncertainty with Neptune, now with Pluto revealing dark, heavy duty agendas, could be about a government or authority figures or bosses, things of that nature. So turning a discerning eye and looking at what's there so that we can transform it. We can get to the bottom of things. In order to transform it, you got to know, you got to get your data. You know, Venus and Virgo is like getting the data, getting to the bottom of things. And then on the 8th, November 8th, Venus will finally be out of this difficult place in fall in Virgo, and she'll move into her one of her home signs, Libra. So it's a lot easier. She's more comfortable in Libra. It's about peace, justice, equality, less critical. So there's an ease there. Now she is the South Node ruler for the next year and a half. So South Node is about a decrease or a loss, or so that what might be experienced is this notion of loss or leaving behind agreements and clients and agreements and things and loyalties that don't serve us any longer. And so that is something that we want to look at, you know, certainly as she gets later in the month, she'll be conjunct the South Node, but right now, no, early in the month, it's just new back in her home sign. Okay, September, where am I? What am I talking about? It's this haircut, I'm telling you. All right, so the November 6th and 7th, November 10th, middle of the month, Mercury enters Sag. So Mercury is going to leave Scorpio, and where we've had some very intense, probably biting confrontations, and as we've seen, unfortunately, with the situation in the Middle East, some real heavy-duty violence and people moving out of fear of death. You know, we had the refugees moving into Egypt. You know, getting the people out of Gaza and things of that nature. Now with Mercury in Sag, it's not his best place in Sag. So I would say, you know, shifting into our own personal transformation. Mercury in Sag can be a real stream of consciousness, you know, and the thing is, he likes data and facts and things. Well, the big picture of Sag, you know, the big forbidding, the judge, the king, the wisdom of Solomon, you know, it's a big mantle for Mercury, and it's probably a little overwhelming. So it might be difficult, but it's the challenge here is to think big thoughts, think big, challenge yourself. This is like, you know, we might experience ourselves or people just endless stream of consciousness. So there's this little caveat I learned when I'm learning about YouTube shorts and things, and I love it. And it applies to this Mercury in transit through Sagittarius. Be brief, be bright, be fun, and be done. That's our mantra. That's what we want to stick to. It's not going to be easy, You know, hell no with Mercury and Sag, but we got to try, right? Make a YouTube Shorts challenge, make it brief. I'm trying to make these things brief. It's really want to get these things down faster, right? All right. So yes, you think big picture, but the challenge is to use a detailed approach to thinking with the big picture. Okay, Mercury then is going to square, as soon as he enters Sag, he's going to square Saturn, 0 Pisces. So that could be, you know, we could have some weather challenges, travel challenges around water. You want to practice like water safety if you're traveling by water. There could be, Mercury rules the weather, so we could have some major storms or some challenging storms that restrict us regarding water, Pisces, oceans, and just generally speaking, things of that nature. So also in the realm of learning, you know, learning and movement, moving around and moving through neighborhoods, or just general transportation, learning, discussion, sharing, exploration can be very challenging when with that square with Saturn. So it's probably saying, you know, like, let's put an element of maturity and discipline and focus into how we move and what we say. Okay, then we end up in the middle of the month, the 12th, we have the new moon in Scorpio, and yes, it will be intense. Yes, like triple strength. I don't know why I keep coming up with espresso. Triple strength espresso. It's dark like Scorpio. It's dark, deep roasted coffee burned in the underworld. It's intense because we got Sun, Moon, and Mars. Mars is in domicile. The Sun and the Moon and Mars are all conjunct, and Mars is opposing Uranus. And of course, there's that Jupiter-Uranus, even though they're not conjunct till next year, we still feel those energies. First, it'll oppose Jupiter, then he'll oppose Uranus. That's a lot of volatility. Anytime you have a square or opposition with, or conjunction square opposition between Mars and Uranus, that can often be accidents. So be careful, be very careful how you move in the world, how you drive. Just take really good care. Just, you know, always good advice. A lot of volatility, sudden, out of nowhere changes and things. I would say too, in terms of, I'm a peacenik, you know, it's like, what if we stopped arguing? What if we put down our guns and our arguments, and the people who are warring in the Middle East and wherever else on the planet? My prayer is to just let go, allow ourselves to have some really deep, penetrating, taking action that has to forward transformation. And it might involve having some really big, broad, deep conversations with Mercury and Sag about truth, about one's truth. But this is to you know, to bring us to some, we're at such a tipping point. By the way, I interviewed SJ today, and it was really, really amazing. We found things that we, like, neither of us planned on going into, but it's always fun like that when you have those experiences. But anyway, I just wanted to say, yes, look for that video and such. Oh, and by the way, little commercial for me here. I do Hellenistic astrology blended with modern archetype, and I use whole sign houses, and I am available for consultations. Single, short, medium, long, Goldilocks. Right, we got everything for you. So you can just check it out at StarSoundastrology.com. All right, so middle of the month, the 13th, 14th, the sun is going to be in that opposition, like I said, first Jupiter, now Uranus. Then on the 18th of the month, so right, you know, about a week before Thanksgiving, the sun and Mars are going to come into a cazimi. That means Mars is in the throne room of the sun. So he's going to get a download here. It's like, sit down, son. I want to tell you, let's talk about fighting. Let's talk about being intuitive. Let's talk about being strategic with our energies. And there's this purification process. It's like an alchemy, purification when we enter into the room of the sun. You know, it's a lot of power, a lot of potential. Just keep leaning in this month to the potential to transform. When we have that difficulty, they talk in the Kabbalah about that a breakdown is actually the beginning of a huge healing. So breakdown to break through. So if something's breaking down, it means, I remember them saying, it means that there's light waiting to be revealed. So remember, the Scorpios with the underworld, but when we grapple with and be willing to engage in sometimes scary conversations and scary situations, there is this huge potential to renew and regenerate, like the phoenix from the ashes. The true Scorpio is the eagle as well as the scorpion. So that's my little pep talk for today. All right, so the 16th to the 18th, Mars and the Sun in Scorpio are going to trine Neptune and Pisces. So that trine maybe there's some compassion that's in that equation there, with Neptune has been in its domicile in Pisces for many years, and when Mars and the Sun meeting up there, hopefully, you know, I would like to think that that's a softening of these intense Mars energies, and that'll be around the 16th to the 18th. Forgiveness is always a, you know, and creative, I would say, you know, a creative solution that involves compassion but to be very ascertaining about what's real, like not to kid ourselves either. With Neptune and Pisces, there could be some fraud or deception, or us not willing to see things as they really are. So there's this opportunity to, you know, get some, use it for its highest purpose of divine grace and assistance with these things of this nature, but just to be aware, with Neptune and Pisces, you always got the honesty factor. Okay, the 23rd is Thanksgiving. So for Thanksgiving, we have the Sun entering Sag, as it always does around that third week of the month. So Sag, Jupiter, is immediately going to, as soon as the Sun enters, just like Mercury entering Sag, Mercury entering Sagittarius squaring Saturn. Well, now the Sun is going to square Saturn. So those are both Jupiter ruled. So there's a lot of Jupiterian big ideas, big, you know, plans. Beliefs and justice could be challenged with the square. So again, you know, there's some action that needs to be taken. There's some light, the luminary, the Sun, the light of truth, of justice, higher wisdom, squaring Saturn in Pisces, where things have been denied or challenged, and regarding what is the truth, with that deception and hiding out, things of that nature. So just to be aware that that's going to be going on around Thanksgiving weekend. Can you imagine the dinner table? But I also have to say too, I would just offer you a health tip here. This from the end of the month. At that time, Sun square Saturn can be very debilitating to our health, especially with a hard transit like that to Saturn. I would say, you know, it can suppress, you know, this feeling of I can do anything with Sun and Sag. Let's go for it. You know, let's be optimistic. But it's like Saturn's a reality check. So I would say take it easy, get a lot of rest, be careful with your health. Your vigor and your vitality might be a little challenged during that time anyway, right? I mean, of course, you've got, you know, if you're cooking dinner for all of your family and all that and travel, you know, it's very hard on the body to be, you know, stuck in airports, or just the whole thing about traveling and cooking and preparing and family dynamics and, you know, all that stuff can really put a damper on things. So just to give yourself a lot of space and take good care of yourself. We're going to finish up by saying the 24th to the 27th, we have Mars and Sagittarius squaring. So Mars is going to come along and square Saturn and Pisces. So that could be you know, there's over the the weekend of Thanksgiving, you know, what is your religious beliefs? You might try not to argue at the table about you know, who's right and who's wrong, right? We can get a little right-wrong-ish with kind of a spiritual arrogance there that could be taking place. So we have to really check ourselves, check our head at the door. Mars rules the head. So come from our heart. Squaring Saturn is demanding that we have some, you know, bring some room around to those conversations, especially with religious beliefs. Does this embody my truth? We might be on a soul quest and find maybe the beliefs that we had or don't really fit us anymore. So that could be a place where we discover some insights and get some insights. Maybe it's a conflict of beliefs. On the 25th, November 25th, Mercury is going to enter its shadow. Can you believe we're already starting another Mercury retrograde season? It's not going to go to retrograde until December 13th, but it is going to enter the shadow at 22 degrees of Sag. So I always feel it. It's a little slight thing. And it depends where you have 22 Sag in your chart. If it's going to affect you, I will just give you a little heads up for next month. It'll retrograde at 8 degrees of Capricorn and go back to 22 Sag. And it will go direct on New Year's Day, believe it or not. So yes, for the Christmas season, we have this Mercury retrograde. So we have to be extra patient and careful with, of course, our travel plans and with all of the various, well, I would say, electrical equipment and all. Do your backups, get all that done. I'd even get it done before the shadow, but certainly before the middle of December, you want to get that done. I also think about Black Friday weekend. Hey, if Mercury's entering shadow that Saturday, it's like maybe that's not, I mean, it's not too bad. It's not really intense until you get right up on the, I'd say the 10th to the 13th of December. Those, and then the few days after, those are always the hardest part of a retrograde, just as it's making that turn, and then just as it's making that turn to go direct. So just to be careful, just to be aware, but you might want to think about that in terms of buying equipment and Cyber Monday and, all that good stuff. And then the end of the month, the last thing we have is our full moon in Gemini, and that's going to be on the 27th of November to round out the month. And that should be, let me see, I'm going to pull up this, full moon in Gemini. And let me go pull this back to there, the new moon, and then the full moon. November 27th, it's a Monday. It will be, Mars will be conjunct the sun within 2 degrees of the sun. Still, pretty close under the beams of the sun. So it's combust and it's in opposition to again, fighting for one's beliefs and belief systems and the need to be right, but the crisis point being, hey, you know what, how about if we listen, Gemini, about listening to others and being open and curious to other people's points of view. So that's certainly something that could come up for the that full moon in Gemini. All right, I think that's it. That's all I got for you today. I hope you've enjoyed this. And as always, we love hearing from you. Yay. And I wore this pink especially because it is going to be an intense month, as we've already been feeling. And so I thought, okay, let me just wear like a cheerful color so we could just, and look, you didn't get your hair cut like Buster Brown. So, there are things to be grateful for. I got this one, or a Dutch girl. I don't know, it's one or the other. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. I hope just keep laughing. And I will see you very soon. See you next time. Okay, everybody. This is Irlianna Samsara, StarSound Speaks, StarSoundastrology.com. Namaste.